What if I told you that one small mistake on your F1 visa could not only ruin your education, but also destroy any chance you have of becoming a US citizen? The truth is, it can. And if you don't avoid it, it could cost you everything. So in this video, I'm going to break down the biggest traps that get F1 students banned from the US and how you can avoid them to keep your American dream alive. But before we get started, let me ask you this. When was the last time you thought about how your online activity could actually affect your visa? Tell me in the comments below. I'm really curious to know. We all use social media every day, posting pictures, tagging locations, sharing your opinions without any second thought. But what might seem like a harmless post to you could be seen very differently by immigration officers. Many F1 students don't realize that social media has become a key part of US immigration's background checks. Even if you're following all the official rules, your online activities might create problems you never even expected. Here's the issue. What you post online can come back to haunt you during visa renewals, even while you're still here in the US. It doesn't matter how innocent it seemed to you. What matters is how immigration officials interpret it. Imagine you just posted about your new internship. You're excited, everything seems fine, but your paperwork hasn't been fully processed yet. That innocent post could be seen as evidence of unauthorized work, putting your F1 visa status at risk. That simple celebration could turn into a massive problem. Your visa renew could be denied, or even worse, you could be flagged for future visa ineligibility. One wrong post could jeopardize your education, your career, your entire future in the US. So how do you protect yourself from the social media trap? Keep your profiles private, or at least avoid posting about sensitive topics like your visa or work. Avoid posting about internships or jobs, even if your work is actually authorized. Stay away from political commentary or jokes about your visa. What's funny to you could be easily misinterpreted. Be cautious with location tags or check-ins. They can be used to track your movements and could raise a lot of questions. You could regularly review your social media accounts as well and delete any post that might be misinterpreted or raise any red flags. Social media can connect you to the world, but it can also disconnect you from your future here in the US if you're not careful. So social media is just the beginning of things that people overlook. There's another trap, one that has nothing to do with what you post online, but everything to do with where you are. We all need breaks sometimes, whether it's visiting family or just getting away for a while. It seems like a no big deal, but for F1 students, especially those on OPT, long absences from the US can cause serious problems. Here's the thing, it's not about where you work, but where you are physically. If you spend too much time outside the US, it could be seen as abandoning your F1 status. Most students don't realize that if you're outside of the US for more than 5 months, even if you're working remotely, let's say, your visa status can be automatically terminated. And this isn't just a short-term issue. It could ruin your chances of applying for a green card or staying in the US long-term. Picture something like this. You're working remotely from your home country, for example, thinking everything's fine. But when you try to return to the US, you're stopped at the border. Now your heart's pumping. Your F1 status have been actually terminated because your absence was too long. Suddenly, your ability to stay in the US is gone. What seemed like a harmless decision to work remotely could cost you your visa, your job, your entire future. Spending more than 5 months outside the US can lead to immediate issues and long-term consequences that could impact your immigration status forever. So how do you actually avoid this? Limit your international travel, especially during OPT. If you need to travel, keep your trips very short. Always consult your DSO, designated school official, before making extended travel plans. They can help you maintain your status. Keep detailed records of travel, including boarding passes, passport stamps, and any correspondence explaining your travel purposes. Understand the 5-month rule. Even shorter absences can raise questions, so it's always better to return to the US as soon as you can. If you're working remotely while abroad, Make sure you have clear documentation that shows your work is US based. If you're an OPT, be extra careful about how long you spend outside the US. A break may seem harmless to you, but it could lead to major consequences. But it's not just about where you are physically. There's another factor catching many students off guard. It's not just about your location, but whether you could be seen as a burden to the system. Have you ever wondered if getting financial help in the US could actually hurt your chances of staying here? It sounds counterintuitive, right? You are here to study, and sometimes we all need a little help. But here's where it gets really tricky. Recent changes in immigration policies have put a spotlight on international students who might rely on government assistance. You could be labeled as a public charge, someone who might become dependent on public resources. And here's the kicker. Even accepting certain types of financial aid, like state-funded health insurance or government, sponsored programs, could come back to haunt you when applying for future visas or green card. It's a real catch-22. You might need financial help to get through school, but accepting that help could essentially jeopardize your future here in the US. The problem is that the lines are very blurry. Some forms of aid are okay, while others can raise massive red flags. By the time you figure out which is which, it might just be too late. So what seems like harmless financial assistance for you could label you as a public charge and lead to visa denials, green card rejections, or worse, a ban from returning to the US. I don't even know for how many years. Here's how to avoid falling into the public charge trap. Be cautious about accepting any form of public assistance, such as food stamps, housing subsidies, or certain types of Medicaid. Keep clear financial records. You need to be able to prove that you can support yourself without relying on public benefits. You can seek help from your school's international office before turning to public programs. They may have resources that won't affect your immigration status, and nobody usually knows about them other than the school officials. Consider purchasing private health insurance to avoid potential issues with state-funded programs, right? Even using emergency services could be risky. Under strict interpretations of the public charge rule, accessing disaster relief or emergency medical care could raise many questions. In the end, it's not about surviving financially, it's about protecting your future immigration status. So, if you're ever unsure about what counts as public assistance, always seek professional advice before accepting any sort of help. Money is also not the only problem that could trip you up. Even if you have your finances sorted out, there's a more subtle trap that many students fall into, something that has nothing to do with your wallet, but everything to do with your intentions. What would happen if your plans changed while you're here in the US? You came here for a degree, but what if you decided to stay long-term? F1 visas are non-immigrant visas, which means when you enter the US, you're telling immigration essentially that you plan to return to your home country after you graduate. But what if that changes? Many F1 students fall into the trap where their plans, evolve. Maybe you find a great job, build relationships, or create a life that makes returning home less appealing. Suddenly, you're thinking about staying longer, maybe even applying for a green card. Here's where the problem starts. If immigration suspects that you've never had the intent to, go back, even if that wasn't the case in the beginning, they can accuse you of having immigrant intent. And things can spiral very quickly from there. Picture this, you're applying for an OPT, maybe an extension, and suddenly the officer brings up your green card application. Even if you intended initially to return home, the fact you're considering staying longer could raise red flags for that official. Before you know it, you could be accused of misinterpreting your real intentions. And that's when the serious consequences actually begin. Your visa extension could be denied. Worse, you could be given just 2 months, 60 days to leave the country. Everything you've worked for, your degree, your job, your relationships could be destroyed because of a misunderstanding about your true intentions. The core issue is that F1 visas don't allow for dual intent. Unlike work visas like H-1B visa, which let you keep your options open, F1 visas expect you to return home after your studies. If immigration believes you plan to stay, you could face denial, accusations of fraud, or even be banned from entering the US forever. Here's how you can avoid falling into this trap, essentially. Be honest in your visa applications. While you can be open to future opportunities, expressing concrete plans to stay long-term can be risky. Avoid making statements about staying permanently, especially on social media or in written communications, essentially. Consult with an immigration attorney. By the way, this is not legal advice. I'm not an attorney, just giving you my experience. You can consider applying for a green card. Talk to one. Timing is everything, and transitioning to a different visa might be the safer route for you. Maintain ties to your home country, like keeping a bank account, for example, or property, to show that you haven't abandoned your residency abroad, right? Be mindful of actions that could suggest immigrant intent, like buying property here in the US or moving all your assets to US banks. Even if your intentions change naturally over time, it's important to navigate the immigration system very carefully to avoid later on being accused of misinterpretation. But long-term plans aren't the only thing that can raise red flags, right? Sometimes even the good things you do, like volunteering, for example, can unintentionally put your visa status at risk. Have you ever thought that volunteering your time for a good cause could actually affect your visa status? Volunteering seems harmless, right? Like, you're not getting paid, so how could it be a problem? But the reality is that even unpaid work can violate your visa status if it's not properly authorized. The line between volunteering and unauthorized work is very blurry. And if your volunteer work benefits you in any way, like earning course credits or enhancing your resume, it could be considered unauthorized employment. The issue isn't about whether you're getting paid, it's about the nature of the work you're doing. If you're using specialized skills related to your field of study, or if the organization relies on you in ways that would normally require the paid worker, it could be flagged as unauthorized work. Something as simple as helping out a nonprofit or volunteering in your field could be seen as a big violation of your visa and lead to serious consequences. Volunteering, even with the best intentions, could lead to denials, to loss of future opportunities, extensions. You could be barred from staying here in the US. What seems like a good deed can be misinterpreted. So here's how you can avoid falling in the volunteering trap. Right? Always check with your DSO before engaging in any off-campus activities, paid or unpaid. They can, help determine if you need authorization or not. Understand the difference between true volunteering and work under immigration law, right? Volunteering for charitable reasons is usually fine, but if it benefits you in any way, like I said before, it might be seen as unauthorized employment. Keep records of any volunteering activities that you do, including the type of work you did while you were contributing, how many hours, just to make sure that you can prove it was actually genuine volunteering. Be cautious of unpaid internships. If they are related to your field of study, like I said, they will be seen with different eyes by immigration. Avoid volunteer roles that require you to use specialized skills. If it's related to your field of study, you'll be probably considered work. Being proactive and checking with your DSO always before commuting is the best and safest route for you. Navigating the F1 visa system is like walking through a minefield where many dangers aren't visible until it's too late. But don't let the fear hold you back. The US is still the land of incredible opportunities and the best place in the whole entire world. I love this country, and I'm sure if you're here, you love it too. If you want to come here, you know that this is the best place for anybody to be. By being aware though of these hidden pitfalls, you're already ahead of the game. If this video opened your eyes to the risks you didn't know existed, just imagine what else you might be missing. Don't leave your future to chance. Sign up for, the email list that we have and join our community. The link is in the description below, and we'll share insider tips that could make or break your American journey, right? And hey, while you're, signing up for that email list, smash the subscribe button because it's a small click that could save you from a world of trouble. Remember, your journey doesn't end when you get your visa. That's just the beginning. Now, have you ever wondered why some international students seem to transition seamlessly into great jobs and green cards while others struggle? I've made a video breaking down exactly what successful immigrants do differently, and you can watch it right here.